Hey guys, it's Courtney with Your House Fitness, and we're just going to go over a little bit about bracing and the concept of bracing the core. Okay, I know a lot of people just think it's like sucking your abs in, but there's a little bit more to that. There's a lot more in the core going on. So I'm going to show you a Pilates version of trying to figure out how to brace the core, okay? So the easiest, simplest option for you to start, okay, if you're not sure, is just to lie on your back, all right? So I'm going to lie on my back here, and now naturally I have an arch in my spine. That's my normal curvature, okay? But sometimes in Pilates what we like to do is we do what's called C-scooping or cervical scooping, which is the idea of lifting my cervical spine, my neck, up off the ground. Now I'm just gently holding my neck so that I can talk to you guys, okay? But basically what that does is help pull the curves in the spine out of their normal position, okay? And it helps me flatten out my lower back. So in this particular instance, if you're looking to do any abs work or core work, you need to get rid of this gap. So what I would encourage you to do is just push your back into the floor, just like that. Now I didn't sit up per se, okay? All I did was just try to flatten my back against the floor. So an easy way to practice this at home is put your hand, so I'm gonna put both my hands just under my back. Now be careful that you don't crush your fingers, okay? Don't be too crazy. And then from here, all I'm gonna do, my head's on the floor, everything, just relax. I'm just basically gonna try to push my hands into the ground. I'm gonna hold that for a second and then relax. So the idea here, of course, is I need to have my core engaged, all of those muscles, to protect my spine. Because what I don't wanna be doing is doing core work or abs work with this big gap here, because my spine is not protected at all. There's no, we'll just use anterior pressure or frontal pressure on the spine. So believe it or not, it's the most common area to herniate in the back is actually an anterior herniation. So it just usually means because the front here isn't pushing against the spine to protect it, okay? So basically you're gonna sandwich the spine, okay? You got your spine on the floor and then your abs, and then you're free to do all your abs work here. So if it's hurting your neck, just hold your head up. You can do all sorts of things here. You can do all sorts of crazy advanced stuff, but you have to maintain this. So step one would just be making sure that you understand how to do this position here, okay? So it's really important that you understand what that means so that when you go to do more advanced exercises, you have the protection for your back, okay? It also helps you engage all of those muscles, right? You're not just isolating something or believing that you're isolating a core muscle. All of those guys are coming together to try to cinch nice and tight to protect everything there. So it's a really important concept, especially if you plan to lift really heavy or do more complicated exercises. The second part here that I'm gonna show you is another way you can play. So basically, this is gonna sound terrible, but just go with me, okay? If I came over here and was gonna slap you in the abs or, just gently punch you in the abs, you would have to tighten up your core so that I didn't accidentally, punch you right in the liver, okay? So it sounds terrible, but get the idea here where I'm gonna brace my abs, and the feeling that you're looking for is if you were gonna do this to yourself, tightening up the core here, okay? Because if you don't tighten up and you accidentally, even just this gentle little punch, it's gonna hurt a lot, okay? So this is another way you can kind of get the idea of what bracing feels like, okay? In lifting, it's sometimes referred to as like a Valsalva maneuver, but we basically just mean like bearing down or bracing to keep everything like from the pelvic floor lifting up, basically all the back muscles nice and tight, and then your abs kind of cinching in a little bit, so you're creating like a box that's nice and tight and protecting the spine. So I'll do one last one standing basically, but if I didn't engage my core when I squatted, what happens a lot of the time is you see people like this, okay? So like, listen, okay, ladies out there, if you're trying to, do some kind of twerking video, that's different, okay? But basically you'll see people like overarch. They don't really understand the idea of bracing, right? So it's basically kind of what we went over once before in another video where you tuck your hips under you a little bit and you kind of suck in your gut. So you tuck in your butt, you suck in your gut. And this is a bracing position for overhead movements, pressing. So now that I'm standing, I can use my bum a little bit more to help keep this kind of engagement here. Again, in Pilates, we call it the pillar, okay? So keep it nice and tight. And then the same thing, when I go to squat, I brace, give myself a test punch, make sure everything's nice and tight. And I need to hold this the whole way down. I'm not gonna do a crazy deep squat here, but you get the idea. You keep this tight. And the last thing we'll go over is a deadlift position. Sometimes I like to make fun of people for what I like to call dude bending. So this is what dude bending is, okay? You're gonna try to pick something up off the ground with this back. If I can see your vertebrae, it's game over for your back. You're gonna herniate something, okay? So understanding, of course, that hip hinging position. I'm gonna use my legs to pick up something off the ground, keeping a neutral spine, and I'm sucking my abs in, technically, I guess, that's how I feel, keeping this nice and tight as I bend all the way over. So you need to make sure that you understand that this is nice and tight the whole way through and the whole way up, okay? So there's no point where the abs or the core muscles are not participating in the movement. That's probably a little more complicated, so if you're not really sure, go to the very first one that I demonstrated on the floor, then go to the all fours position, okay, and do the fake punching drill, and then work your way up to a standing and seeing if you can feel this tension all in here. Remember tucking in your butt, sucking in your gut, that kind of saying, okay, when you're standing up nice and tall and straight. And then just try to practice feeling that when you're doing any type of movement where you're bending over, okay? Hopefully that's helpful. So you kind of get an idea of what bracing is. And yeah, any issues or questions, give us a shout. Until next time.